All right, good morning again, everyone. So today, uh, as I mentioned, we had a last minute cancellation. So I went back to one of my old favorites, which is the prayer of Jabez. Now, I came across this when I was doing a little bit of my refresher course on prosperity and abundance, because for many people, this prayer is about abundance. I think it's about faith, and I think that it's about expanding our awareness. So that's kind of what I'm going to talk about today, is this idea of faith and awareness. The prayer of Jabez it's an interesting piece. It comes out of the Bible. It comes from First Chronicles. It is in chapter 4. It's 2 verses. What I find interesting about this is, as many of you who have studied the Bible, you know that the Old Testament especially can get really heavy with begats and so begat this person and it's a lineage. First Chronicles, the first 9 chapters of this book is just a litany of Adam begat Cain. It just goes down through so begat, and that's all it is. It's just a chronological listing of this ancestry record, starting with Adam. It is the family tree of the Hebrew tribe. It's a long list. There are over 500 names in this list. First 9 chapters. What's interesting is in chapter 4, so just about in the middle of this long litany, the author stops and takes one little break and says about Jabez that his mother called him Jabez because he was born in pain, out of pain. The whole verse reads, "Now Jabez was more honorable than his brothers, and his mother called his name Jabez, saying, because I bore him in pain. And Jabez called on the God of Israel, saying, oh, that you would bless me indeed and enlarge my territory. May your power go with me to keep me from trouble, so as not to cause me pain." And God granted his request. And then it goes right on again with this list of names. It's the roll call for the tribe of Judah just continues uninterrupted through the 9th chapter. So you want to wonder, who was this guy that he was worthy of two verses, right? And all we know about him is what we've learned in those 2 verses. But there was something that made him remarkable in this roll call of the tribe for him to be recognized. So that's what we want to look at today, is what is called his prayer, because that is what was recorded, so that had to have been remarkable. One of the things as a minister that I love is that his prayer was only 1 sentence long. He didn't go on for 10 minutes. He had one succinct prayer. And so we're going to break that down for a little bit, and I'm going to talk for 10 minutes about 1 sentence. Here's the question, I think, is that he asked for something big. He asked, enlarge my territory. And I'm wondering, when was the last time that we asked a big question? It's why I selected the Marianne Williamson reading today, because I think sometimes that our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate, but that we are afraid to seek that bigger thing that is within us. And I think that this is true, or can be true, for us on an individual level. It can be also true for us on a community level, as Mountainside. Are we willing to step into something bigger and bigger? Are we as a community willing to say, enlarge our territory? So looking at his prayer again, the spiritual principle that I want to speak to today is twofold. One is that God can only do for us what our mind is capable of conceiving. What can we ask for? What are we willing to ask for? The second piece of it really is about faith. In the Bible, there are many stories about faith. There are many stories about people who walked up to Jesus and just touched his robe and believed that in touching his robe, they would be healed. Was it his robe that had power? No. Was it Jesus who had power? It was their faith, their consciousness of oneness that gave them that conduit to the divine spirit. So that's what we want to kind of look at today. So let's break this prayer down a little bit. Oh, that you would bless me indeed. So I think when we ask for a blessing, when we ask, bless me, we are showing a willingness to clear out obstructions, that we're willing to clear the path to anything that hinders our connection with the divine. We're showing that willingness that I am open, I am ready to receive. I am open and I am willing to play big, to be enlarged, to know that spirit is in us and guides us and directs us and can propel us into that which we seek. It is our faith that when we ask, we know that we shall receive. We know that we teach it over and over, and many of you know it, you have experienced it, that the bounty of the divine is only limited by our willingness to receive and to believe that we can receive it. Believing that we're worthy to receive, that we're capable of receiving. Jabez was blessed, I believe, simply because he refused to let any obstacle or person, or more importantly, his beliefs, loom larger than the goodness of the divine. He just simply stated, enlarge my territory, awaken my consciousness, awaken my awareness, uplift me so that I can be one with the divine. It's kind of an interesting story about receiving blessings. There's a story about Mr. Jones who goes to heaven, and he goes to the pearly gates, and Peter takes him in through the pearly gates and takes him into heaven, and they walk down this long hallway, and they get to this one room, and it's like, the way, kind of the room that the stars have. There's a big star on the door, and it says, Mr. Jones. And Mr. Jones walks through the door, and the room is filled with all these boxes that are wrapped up in ribbons, like 100 Christmas presents that are unopened. And they all have his name on them. And Mr. Jones says, what are all these presents? And Peter says to him, those are all the blessings that were available to you that you never asked for. I think Jabez knew that those boxes were there. Jabez knew that there were an unlimited supply of blessings available. And so he just asked for them. Bless me. Bless me. Enlarge my territory. Lift up my consciousness and allow me to surrender, which I think is the second piece to this, to surrender to the power of the divine within us, knowing that spirit moves through us. It's not us that's doing the work. In so much, I think, this is true for me, and I suspect it's true for some of you. When I'm about to embark upon a task, or maybe even to meet someone, my mind will go to my abilities, plus my experience, plus my training, plus my personality, plus my appearance, plus my past, and plus my expectation of others. And that defines my territory. That defines what I think I can do. It defines what I think others can do for me. What Jabez is saying is enlarge our territory, enlarge our consciousness. And the equation that we want to use is my willingness to ask and my willingness to surrender to spirit. Not getting caught up in the how, but rather willingness to accept and allowing the power of the divine to move through me. And this then is my territory. Marianne Williamson says, we were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, but it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. When I am willing to enlarge my territory, I am willing to let other people's light shine and to accept the gifts from them as well. The second part, or the next part of his is, oh, that your hand would be with us. And again, this is just this idea of allowing ourselves to surrender, knowing that we are propelled, that we are inspired by the divine. And I love this line. May your power go with me to keep me from trouble, so as not to cause me pain. This goes back, I think, to as we release ourselves, we release others. Your power go with me to keep me from trouble. Now, I don't know about you, but I can get myself into trouble pretty easily. I can open my mouth and engage my mouth sometimes before I engage my brain. And I can engage my mouth sometimes before I engage my heart. I did it this week to somebody. And as soon as it came out of my mouth, I thought, what are you doing? But you see, I was in that place of smallness. I was in that place of fear. I was in that place of lack. And I wasn't connected with the divine. Jabez knows that this is the human experience, that this can happen. And so he says, I need you to go with me to keep me, I think, from my own worst enemy, which is myself, right? Keep me from trouble to cause me pain. Because what happens? Think about that. What happens when we say a sharp word to someone? I use that example because that's what I did. I spoke sharply to somebody. When I say that, it causes me as much pain as it does them. So we want to ask for this power to go with us, for this wisdom, for this compassion, for this loving kindness that is the divine to go with us, so that we can not do harm to others, but also not do harm to ourselves. It's kind of a funny poster. Years ago, I saw this, and I had to look at it twice. It was a poster, and it was one of the Roman gladiators, and he was in the Colosseum, and there was a lion staring at him. And the little blurb at the bottom of the poster, this was pre-social media days when you actually had posters that you put on the walls instead of the memes that are coming across Facebook. It said, sometimes you can afford to come in second, and sometimes you can't. And it always made me laugh because I had to think about that for a minute. Because if you come in second against the lion, you're in trouble. But sometimes you can afford to come in second. And that reminds me of the saying that it's better to be kind than to be right. And sometimes I think that is protecting us from our own pain. If we just allow ourselves to take that breath, ask, may your power go with me to keep me from trouble. Taking a breath and doing what is kind rather than from that place of judgment that I need to be right. I think, as Marianne Williamson references, that our danger is not that we are out on a precipice somewhere. We're not out hiking and on a trail and about to fall, but rather that we're not awake and watchful while we're on this precipice, while we're on the edge of our territory. When we get to those places where we're uncomfortable, when we have stretched ourselves, and we're a little bit uncomfortable, that's when we utter the prayer of Jabez. Expand my territory. Will your power go with me as I go into unknown places, as I go into places that are uncomfortable? The prayer of Jabez reminds us that God is always with us. Spirit is always with us. Because as he said this prayer, the last part of this 2 verses is, so God granted him what he requested. All of the untapped potential of the divine is waiting for connection, our connection to the divine, to be restored. Indescribable good, indescribable higher consciousness and awareness is available to all of us if we ask, if we are willing to surrender to spirit and know that we are always supported and guided and directed in wisdom and in courage and in love and compassion. And loving kindness can lift us up and help us move out into greater territory. So we ask with faith. We trust with faith. And that greater awareness comes to us. So as we are liberated, as Marianne Williamson says, as we are liberated from our own fears, our presence automatically liberates us, and it liberates others. Because when we live in the kingdom of spirit, in the kingdom of the divine, and when we live into and step into the gifts of spirit, we give that gift of spirit to everyone around us. And then we share that light of divine with all. And everyone's territory is expanded and lifted up. I want to read a prayer to you that I came across as our closing. Mother, Father, God, Divine Spirit, keep me from making the mistakes I am most likely to make when temptations come. Keep me safe from pain and grief and dangers I can't see, or the ones that I think I can handle alone because of my wisdom and experience. Keep me safe from temptations that pull at my emotions and physical needs, that call out to my sense of what I think I deserve. Spirit, source of all life, direct my steps away from all that is not you. Divine Spirit, it is your profound and immovable purpose of love, the force of spirit that is present right here, moving through those who are gathered here now. Holy One, bless me now and expand my territory. Guide and direct my thoughts, words, and actions that I may be a blessing to all. And keep me away from those people and events that cause me trials, temptations, and tribulations. Bless me that I may be a blessing to others. I am grateful to be blessed with the goodness of the divine. And so it is. Ashe and Amen.